Hey, hello everyone. So, how is your Sunday today? My Sunday is quite sunny. Um, I'd like to welcome everyone that's online at the moment. Interestingly enough, someone decided to start vacuuming exactly right now. So you might be hearing that sound in the background. So, what wonderful things are going to be vacuumed today from within is the initial question that comes to mind. Um, Today, the themes I'm going to explore through the compassionate breath are unconditional love and compassion. To bring in eventually a different perspective, a different viewpoint. So, hey guys, aren't you there? Hi. Oh, okay, right. Now I can see someone commenting on the chat here. Okay, so I'll just sort of wait for a minute or two before diving into the subject for today. Hello, Simone. Hello, Matea. And then there's this different kind of language which I don't understand. Hi, Krisha. Hi, Helen. Hi, everyone. Thank you for coming. Thank you for being here today. Hi, Barbara. And wait a minute. Can't remember the name here. Hi, Ada. Ah, Kim. That's the funny kind of language there that I couldn't really put together. Hi, Kim and Doris. Yay. Okay. Marisa. Okay, so let's begin. Gabriela, hello. So to remember last time the Just Breathe live webinar was exactly on St. Valentine's Day. And at that moment I chose not to share specifically about the theme of love. And now all of a sudden 1 month later the theme is unconditional love and compassion, but in quite a different perspective. Hi, Katarina. Thank you. It's nice and shiny over here. Really beautiful. Okay. So, first, before we dive into this, I'd like to invite, and the vacuum cleaner is coming closer. I'd like to invite you to take a deep breath through your nose, vacuuming everything with your breath. Just becoming very present, serenely present in this moment. And you know, interestingly enough, vacuum to me is the void. So we're going to sort of clear up some space in the void so that there's not so much clutter around it. The void itself is uncluttered. But sometimes we manage to clutter it over so much that we cannot even be aware of it. And so Matea is saying here, it's Mother's Day in the UK today. Okay, so whoever is from the UK, happy Mother's Day. Now, coming into the feeling of this thing that people talk about so much, unconditional love I'd like to invite you to perceive one first thing. If it's unconditional, there are no conditions and there is no conditioning on it. Therefore, even viewing ourselves as separate, like I am human but also divine, conditions our feeling. I invite you to feel into this. So we are all of it. There is not one thing and the other. The human is just the physical expression of the divine, but the human can be aware of that or not. Though the human never ceases to be the physical expression of spirit. This is removing the condition, the conditioning as well. And on the other hand, I'd like to invite the perception, the vision, that love is another word for eternity. This is why love is really all there is. Because the fundamental truth about who each one of us is eternity. We are all eternal. Though while we are perceiving ourselves and existence from the limited point of view here as just human, we forget that no matter what we may be going through, what we may be facing in our lives, we are fundamentally eternal. That is what we are. And immediately, by keeping this awareness constantly present, we remove the conditions that separate us from ourselves. Immediately. And then it becomes easy to realize that though we do need the conditions in order to experience separation, therefore taking existence, taking possibilities beyond themselves, being able to exist in so many different ways. So we do need the limitation, the forgetfulness of who we are, which is eternity, which is another word for love, because it's a word for wholeness. Though we do need that forgetfulness, that condition, in order to go further, because if we knew all along, we wouldn't take existence where it has gone so far. When we start remembering that we are a divine human, then something extraordinary happens. We realize that no matter what we have experienced, nothing can condition that truth of who we truly are. So, when we then start trying to envision love as loving another, again, we are creating a condition. I am me and you are you. But if we come deep into the knowingness that there is no human and divine, it's all one thing. The human is the expression in physical form of spirit, then we fall into eternity. We fall into love inside of ourselves. Therefore, it is not possible not to see this in another. It simply is not feasible to be in unconditional merge with our eternity, knowing this, being fully aware of this, therefore being in love with us, and not feel this with others. Because each one is eternity existing in this reality. Each one. Though, of course, each one is having a different kind of perspective of what experience can be like within the physical realm. So some know that they are eternity. Others have forgotten temporarily. But all, each one, is this. Each one is unconditional love. Therefore, eternity existing in a specific form at a specific point of perception, which is, in other words, time. It's just about which side of possibility we are perceiving. But there are not sides that are more valuable or more worthy of being love than others. Because every single shade of oneness experienced here, I am a shade of oneness within myself. You are a shade of oneness within yourself. Each one is a shade of oneness within oneself. Every single shade is experiencing duality from a different perspective. And duality is absolutely essential for one to be able to see oneself in physical experience. It would not be possible to see the sunshine, to dive in the waves of the ocean, to smell the scent of the flowers, and also all of the other not so beautiful things that we experience, it would not be possible if there were no duality. Duality is just the opportunity of taking the expression of oneness beyond what it has known itself to be. Nothing more, nothing less. So within this context, and because there is so much bias towards the light, I'd like to invite the perception that there could not be experience, there could not be oneness experience itself. I could not, in my oneness, be experiencing existence if there were not light and dark. This is a condition necessary, but when I remove the condition, then light and dark merge. And I realize that neither one nor the other was more relevant, more important for the expression, the experience of existence, of oneness, becoming more than what it knew before. There is really no separation between light and dark. And if we have delved into the dark and gotten lost there, just enabling us to experiencing it in so many different ways, something will happen to trigger us back into the middle. But then, if we go and get lost in what we perceive to be light, again, something will happen to trigger us back into balance, like a seesaw. This is duality happening. Now, is it possible to live in the physical world of form where duality is essential for experience to happen? Is it possible to live in physical form without tipping over to one side or to the other? Yes, it is. Even if temporarily we might tip a little bit there, a little bit there, we can easily come into that neutral point of unconditional love. In other words, eternity with no conditions or conditioning, the neutral point, the zero, the void, where everything merges and is born again, merges and is born again. So, self-love, which is also a very current theme, is just falling into the realization of our own eternity and keeping that awareness awake. if we stay in this awareness, in this middle, in this center, breathing ourselves present without tipping to the dark or to the light, without fighting against either side, coming into the neutral space where human and divine are just different expressions of oneness, then self-love is a given. This is self-love. So if the tendency to judge yourself because eventually you've tipped over to one side or to the other and temporarily become lost again, if that tendency to judge yourself comes up, release it. It only serves the purpose of remaining lost, of remaining in forgetfulness of your eternity. So if you want to keep that, well then, okay, judge yourself, beat yourself up. How does that feel? It's okay, because you will stop doing that sooner or later if it's no longer serving you. It only serves to keep you seeing yourself outside, separate. Once you're realizing that you are everything you feel, think, say, do, see, then you fall into a new harmony. And this harmony is what balances the heart, but it happens deep down in your belly, where human and divine are perceived as one. Deep down in the core, deep down in our gravity center. And as you know, gravity seems to be something that separates us, but really, if you dive into it, it's what liberates you. Diving into gravity, into our gravity center, into our core, we go beyond the limited perception of being just human, and we tap into the eternal memory base of who we truly are. This is unconditional love. It's not about loving someone else. It's not about going out of ourselves all the time in order to be good, to be nice, to receive approval. It's an absolute, I would say, self-love. And in this, we can see everyone from that perspective. This is why it doesn't really work to forget about ourselves and to try and go out and fix everyone and everything in order to find love. First of all, it doesn't need to be found. Secondly, it doesn't need to be received as a form of recognition or worth. It is just the most intrinsic, basic truth about each one of us. We are eternity. Therefore, we are that. We are love. All we can do is forget about that. So now I invite each one of us to breathe with this for a while. To take a deep breath through your nose, deep down into your belly. Realizing that past, present, future are all here now. In this space of safe, serene awareness. Deep down in your belly. Within your breath. Where you become aware that it is only your perception of what you have done, said, been, of what you are doing, saying, and being, of what you expect to do, say, and be, that conditions your love for you. Would you like to allow the walls of separation to start dissolving and collapsing so that you can realize that just like the waves of the ocean, no wave is more relevant than the other. Your past, present, and future are just one. Are just eternity, experiencing itself for love, as love. I invite you to breathe this in. To breathe your awareness of yourself to a new level of harmony. For you have never ceased to be the one expressing itself in such an infinite succession of ways and possibilities. I invite you to open your eyes. Realize that here in this physical world, fear is essential in order to bring us to a critical mass point in ourselves where we say, I've had enough. I've experienced enough of this. And then that's when it becomes possible to collapse back into eternity within ourselves, back into love. Fear is just the reverse hologram of who we truly are. And now, as I said at the beginning, I would also like to share a bit more about compassion, knowing that it's not pity for others, wanting to save anyone. I invite this perception. The word compassion itself holds coming into passion. But this is not related to the human passions and desires, like greed, lust, etc., which are the passions of separation, this passion is the passion for being all that we can possibly become. For when the oneness asked itself, when it burst open, who can I become? What can I become? This was the passion, and is the passion, and it remains within each one of us. It is a passion so great that it dissolves separation, that it allows us to remember our eternity. It does not have an affiliation with light or dark, or with any duality per se. It is the passion that brings us to that 0 point within, from where we can perceive so many more perspectives, from where we can stand firm and look all around and realize that these are all just reflections. Compassion is such a level of acceptance, for there cannot not be acceptance in that one neutral spot of reunion within ourselves. Such a point of awareness that there is no need to save another from his or her experiences. It becomes absolutely clear that each one can only transcend his or her own self, for his or her reality is simply reflecting him or herself. Compassion, I would say, is the greatest form of love in the way we perceive it. It's being the standard, the example of absolute self-awareness and reunion, harmony and balance. That this becomes the radiating force for whoever is at the point of remembering, of tipping the scale, to see and to have that aha moment. Yes, that's who I am. It cannot be done by going outside of ourselves all the time. Because then we become the many and forget the one. And in this love that is so grand, we perceive each one as the one that they are, having experiences of duality. And maybe a word that we say, maybe just a look or a touch, maybe just a breath that we take, might be the tipping point if the moment has come for this one to remember. So you see, in those moments in your own life when you felt you were a victim and that someone should be helping you, it was so very fortunate that no one was there, because that became your doorway back home. That became your enough, your reason to remember. And now, I believe you realize I am not saying here that it's not okay to help others. Not at all. What I'm saying is something else. And I leave you to discern this from your own wisdom. I'm also not saying, okay, so if we are all this oneness within oneself, each one within oneself, then we don't need to set clear boundaries because that would eventually create separation. No, I'm not saying that. Actually, creating clear boundaries, which is, in other words, being firm with your choice to stay in balance, not allowing other people to feed on your energy, to disrespect your integrity. This is essential. This in itself also sets a clear example. Because we know that in this reality of physical form, each one is living their own experiences, and many do not remember. They are eternity, unconditional love, have not been touched by this compassion to be. So it is essential, yes, to be very clear about what you allow in your reality and what you don't. But then being clear also requires being consistent. Word, thought, and deed aligned from the core of you, informing your heart and your mind. And of course, here I'm not talking about the mind. The mind is everywhere. We are the fruit of divine intelligence that is mind as well. I'm talking about the brain, informing the brain so that we can deal with our daily lives, create what needs to be created, organize, and so on. Alignment, coherence is essential. And I have repeated this so very often and will keep on doing so. Compassion is absolute coherence. Unconditional love is the oneness within. It is us knowing always that we are eternity. So let's just take a deep breath with that. Falling into this pool of eternity within. And noticing how each compassionate breath creates ripples from the core of you out into the vast eternity. Aligning your reality with who you perceive yourself to be. This is realization. If there were no darkness, there would be no shedding light on it. But notice the void. It's completely dark. And in it, all possibilities reside. I invite each one to take these perceptions further and deeper in whichever way they may serve you. Beyond these words, within your breath. I invite you to open your eyes and be at peace with the fact that it might be hard to think at the moment and to understand what you know of what has been shared. But what matters is your knowingness. This is why this week I shared in my newsletter a text called The Desert of Knowingness. It is a void, and it gains shape. It is filled with wisdom, moment to moment. This is the isness that each one of us is. Unconditional eternity. So today, if you can go for a nice walk or allow this to sink in the midst of nature, that will be wonderful. And I thank each one of you that has been present here today, bringing this space of awareness together for all of our souls, all of our spirit essence together has provided this for us. Thank you. If there's anything you would like to say, you are welcome to write in the chat before we end the session today. Thank you again. Really and honestly, when we are aware of this unconditionality of ourselves, there is no way not to be grateful. There is no way not to be loved. There is no way not to be in compassion. to be compassion, to be compassionate. Thank you all. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for this gift to all of you. And depending where you are in the world, if it's nighttime, well, sweet dreams in the eternity of you. And if it's daytime, enjoy the rest of your day without having to think your way through it. Just allowing one breath at a time. Thank you. Oh, in the snow. Yeah, because some of you are in snowy places like Serena and Doris and in Germany, Serena in the United States, and Mateja in Slovenia, and maybe others of you. Here where I am in Portugal at the moment, it's a sunny day. And the snow, wow, the snow is such a gift of silence. Each place beautiful in itself. Thank you. So I'm going to end the session and see you next month on the second Sunday of April. Bye.